Well, part of my commitment to frugality and to good eating is to just keep on top of what I have in the refrigerator. And I try to make sure I only have things I like in the refrigerator, and then to use them, either use them or figure out how to store them or freeze them for later. This video is part of a collaboration named Quick and Easy Meals. It's hosted by Anna at the Grace Life DIY Home Decor, Debbie at Debbie Bubbles, and Jean at Jean Home Decor and more. Every Sunday evening, new videos come up at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the community tab of Anna at the Grace Life DIY Home Decor. Always something new, interesting, and tasty. So I had some vegetables in the refrigerator that needed to be dealt with. So I thought, I'm gonna do a quiche. I had a crust. I had half a crust, and I've rolled that out and put it in my cast iron frying pan. I love the way the cast iron cooks because it gets hot all around. It's in parchment paper. And I'll show you what vegetables I have. I have some cooked potatoes. I was making something else with potatoes. I thought, I'm just going to take a potato and just add it to this. I put it in the steamer, cut it up. So I'm going to put those right in there. Potatoes are great for quiches because they just make it a meal. I have some big mushrooms I took out of the freezer. They're kind of tough if you don't cook them. So I've got a pan going there on the stove, and while I put the rest of this together, I'm going to saute these up. I also have some onions that I had in the freezer. I froze a couple months ago, so I'm going to take some of these out and saute them up with the mushrooms. So while those onions and mushrooms are cooking up, I have preheated the oven to 350, and I have 2 tomatoes left from my friend's garden, which have definitely seen better days, but they're good enough for this. So I'm going to cut these up. I'm just going to slice them up and lay them on top of the potatoes. There's no particular order on laying anything on top of anything. It's just whatever I had, whatever I'm cutting up, that's what's going to go there. Pretty much everything, nothing really needs to be cooked for this. I did cook the potatoes because they won't cook to softness in the quiche, and I'm doing those mushrooms and onions because they also won't cook to softness. So that's pretty much your own call. I have used everything in quiche's vegetables. I've done cooked butternut squash in there, leftover cooked butternut squash. I have done salmon. Whatever I have left over, I just put it into a quiche. I'm also going to grate most of, if not all of, the zucchini to put in here too. I got this wonderful bag of zucchini at Costco a little while ago, and I'm using up what I can use up fresh, and the rest I'm going to grate and freeze. So I'm going to start grating and see where this gets us. The mushrooms and the onions are still sauteing away, and they'll be the last vegetable I add. So I went ahead and grated the whole thing. I already had the grater out. I'm going to see how much of this will realistically fit on the quiche, and the rest I can freeze. I freeze them in 1 cup increments, and I use them for cooking and baking. So I probably have another cup right there. So my mushrooms and onions finally cooked up a little bit. This is more mushrooms and onions than I'm going to need for this, I think, but I made some bean soup today, some white bean soup today, and it's kind of boring, so I put on the label there, it needs mushrooms and potatoes. I might throw some of that in there too. Okay, so now we're going to put our dairy in here, the eggs, the milk, the cheese. I'm going to put probably about half a cup of cheddar cheese. You can use any cheese you want, but I've got cheddar. Excuse my hands, they're the best tool I have. I'm going to put some of that on top like that. And then I'm going to put the rest of the cheese on over the milk and egg combo. So I had a little bit of this milk left. It's less than a pint, less than half a pint, but it's sufficient. I'm going to pour that in here. I made chai with a friend of mine, and we needed a small amount of milk for that. I'm going to put 3 eggs. 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to put about half a teaspoon or so of nutmeg in here. I don't know, nutmeg just gives this dish a nice, warm, cozy flavor. So put about half a teaspoon. And I'm going to mix that up real well. Sometimes I do these in my large Dutch oven and I just double the milk and double the eggs. But this is sufficient for what I'm making right here. I'm excited about this. With all the veggies, it's going to be a meal in itself. So I'm going to now pour this over the quiche. And I'd go slow. And mine, yes, has overflowed my pie crust in the past, but nothing terrible happens, especially if it's in the parchment paper. It just cooks mine. So there we go. I'm using a spoon this time. So just gonna, I'd say maybe half a cup the first round and another half a cup on top. You can use any cheese you want. The cheddar gives it that classic golden color, but I've done it with just plain mozzarella, and that cooks up nicely too, and it also gets some color, and it's delicious. So I would say that's about it. I have the oven preheated to 350, and this is going straight in probably for about 30 to 45 minutes. We'll see. It always depends on what sort of vegetables I have in there, how fast things cook. So I just pulled this out of the oven, 35 minutes. The amount of time it's going to take for a quiche like this to cook is going to depend on the size and how liquid it is. This was a little less liquid than I usually do because I have so many vegetables, but it smells very good, and that nutmeg makes a great difference. So I'm going to cut into this in a little while. I'm going to let it sort of set and cool down, and we'll check it out and see how it tastes. Well, I just took a piece and a bite, and it is absolutely fabulous. That nutmeg makes a huge difference. You can see all of the vegetables there packed in. They are cooked, they are wonderful, and it's truly a meal in a pan. So good. I freeze these also. I cut them up into quarters and wrap them up and put them in the freezer and warm them up in the oven when I'm ready to eat. But right now I'm going to enjoy a piece right out of the oven. Thank you so much for watching.